This is a 2024 Polestar 2 Single Motor Plus, an updated version of the brand's first full battery electric vehicle that's been with us since the 2021 model year. And trust me when I say this, this is both an environmentally and enthusiast-friendly update. Polestar increased the 2's driving range by 20%, increased efficiency by 9%, and sped up charging by 34%. And it has a new battery pack, 82 kilowatt hours instead of 78 kilowatt hours. Put that all together and the Polestar 2 single motor range increases to 320 miles. That is the official EPA number, and I should say that is only on the 19-inch standard wheels. If you go with the 20s, that drops to 307 miles. Still, nice improvement. Used to be 270. You also get more power. More on that in a minute. But the biggest change of all, the Polestar 2 single motor is now rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive. Yes. Do all these changes transform the way the Polestar 2 single motor drives? Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars, and I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a 2024 Polestar 2 single motor is $51,300. Going Plus adds $2,200 to the price, costing $53,500. And my test car did include a $1,250 metallic paint and the $2,000 pilot pack and cost $56,750. All right, with that, now is a good time for me to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail. Looking at the front of the car, it effectively looks the same as it has done since it came out for the 2021 model year, and I certainly don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a nice clean look. This does have the pilot pack, which includes adaptive cruise control, but also these fog lights way out here, way off to the side. And while there's not too much to see under the hood, there is a little bit of space. So here it is, your frunk or front cargo space. And I'm sure if you're going on a road trip, that would come in handy. Also, windshield washer fluid is really easy to get to right here. Looking at the car in profile, this is a better opportunity to get a look at the midnight paint color. This is a $1,250 optional metallic paint. And it's called midnight, but it's this like dark blue. It's not black. If you want black, that's called space. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen so you can check those out and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. These are a nice looking 19-inch wheel. This is the base wheel for the Polestar 2. You can optionally get it with 20s. And if you do, that does hurt your range. But this particular Polestar is wearing 19-inch Michelin X Ice snow tires. So that is definitely going to limit the handling feel of this particular car, but the wheel still looks nice. And yes, this is a square setup. The wheel and tire in back are the same size of what's in front. Looking at the car from the back, I think it's a nice clean look. Let's see how much space we got. Open up the hatch and you get 14 cubic feet of storage behind the second row. And you also have this little piece that folds up, and under the floor, you have an additional 1.5 cubic feet of storage. That's sizable. You also have this little ski pass-through right here. And if you need more than 14 cubic feet of storage and only need to carry one passenger, that is easy enough to do. Pull a couple of levers, and now you have 39 cubic feet of storage and room for you and a passenger. That number, 39 cubic feet, does include this storage down here, by the way. But I think that's enough room for my bike. It's going to be close, but let's find out. Oh. Hey, there it is. There's not a lot of wiggle room. The space between the wheel wells is tight, but we got it in, and lengthwise it's actually not so bad. Yeah, you can fit a bike back here, maybe even a slightly bigger one, maybe. Let's take a look inside. This car is a little bit above your standard Polestar 2. It is a Polestar 2 Plus, and that means we get several things, including a glass roof and heated rear seats. And just like the outside of the car, the interior is clean and simple and straightforward. Is it big enough? Yeah. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall. I have a good 2 inches of legroom. The seat bottom is a little bit on the low side, so thigh support is only so-so. And put those things together, and I do have slightly less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. But for short trips, I think it would be spacious enough, and it is comfortable. These materials feel plenty comfortable. It is a cloth material, but it is also a vegan interior. There is, of course, more space up front. We do have the usual controls on the doors right here. We also have 2-position seat memory below that. We do also have electric adjusting seats with lumbar support right there, and a hatch release button to the left of the steering wheel. To open the frunk or front trunk, that's this lever right here. And if you want to adjust the steering, that is manually done with that lever right there. You are looking at a 12.3-inch fully digital instrument cluster right there. And the official EPA range for the single motor Polestar 2 is now 320 miles with the 19-inch wheels. However, we do have the winter tires on, and previous driving has put the range at 290 miles, even though we have a full charge. The steering wheel itself is a nice fat rim, easy to hold on to, and you do have plenty of controls on the right, that's more media stuff, and on the left, that's more cruise control stuff. And next to that is your 11.2-inch portrait-mounted center console display, and this is a really nice display. This is Android Auto OS that runs this. This is Google. So of course you have Google Assistant, you have Google Maps, and those types of things. Really handy. And Google Assistant works really well. Hey Google, set the temperature to 68 degrees.
Okay, changing the temperature to 68 degrees.
That reads my voice accurately and operates faster than any other voice-activated system I've tried. It's really nice. If you want to adjust the climate control, you just slide up like this, and this gives you operations for temperature, how the fan works, and these are your heated seats right here. And I should mention, because we have the Plus pack, we also have a heated steering wheel. The heated seats are standard. Beneath that, we do have a wireless smartphone charger right there, and 2 more USB Type-C ports right there. This is our Prindle right here. If you put it in reverse, that also automatically pops up your 360-degree view camera. You can push this button right here, then you can click on any individual camera to see what that camera sees at the time. I think that's a really nice setup. I'm really happy with that. And most critically, if you go to vehicle, this will give you all the driving options you have. And I really like the way that Polestar set this up. So you can choose between light, standard, and firm steering, one pedal driving. How much off throttle battery regeneration do you get? Off, low, or standard. You have creep. That is, will the car start rolling when you lift off the brake? I have it off right now because I like having full control of when the car's moving. And finally, sport mode up there when it's time to get a little spirited. With snow tires, I don't know how spirited we can get. But also, we have assist. You have a lot of control of what assistant systems are on and off, charging status, that kind of information, and much more. Past the Prindle, we do have a cup holder and a little bit of storage and a second cup holder underneath this little armrest right here. Looking up, we do have a couple of lights, and here's another look at that glass roof right here. And if you would like to learn more about the outside and inside of this 2024 Polestar 2, I did do a separate video that goes into more detail of all that stuff. I will have a link to that in the description, and hopefully it'll pop up right there. Okay, let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. The first single motor version of the Polestar 2 came for the 2022 model year. And when it came out, as I said, it was front wheel drive with 231 horsepower and 243 pound-feet of torque. Basically, it was the front half of the 2021 dual motor setup, half the power, half the torque front wheel drive. This one now has 295 horsepower and 361 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, big difference. And as I mentioned at the top, that goes to the rear wheels. This is a rear wheel drive hot hatch of sorts now. I love that. Real quick, you might see that some people say that this has 299 horsepower. That's metric horsepower. So it has 220 kilowatts. That converts to 295 SAE horsepower or 299 metric horsepower. In Germany, it's called Pferdstark. There is a 1.4% difference between Pferdstark, metric horsepower, and SAE horsepower. Quick nerdy moment there. Now it's over. Anyway, that is an additional 64 horsepower compared to the last single motor and 118 more pound-feet of torque. Oh, and trust me, you can feel the difference. If you're at all curious to learn what that first 2022 model year single motor Polestar 2 was like to drive, I did review it. I will have a link to that review in the description, and it should pop up right there. But if you want more power than that and all-wheel drive, Polestar does still sell the dual motor Polestar 2, and that gets well over 400 horsepower and nearly 550 pound-feet of torque. Now, I did review a dual motor Polestar 2 last year. I will also have a link to that review in the description, and now that one should pop up right here. Getting back to this car here, like I said at the top, we do now have an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, and 79 of those 82 kilowatts are usable for driving range, and that's 3 kilowatts is left there to help maintain the longevity of the battery pack. It is a 400 volt system, but the improved charging does allow you to go from 10 to 80% on a quick charger in 28 minutes. That's compared to 34 minutes before with the older battery pack. And this is just a very easy to drive, very manageable system with lots of options. So I currently have it in the standard one pedal driving range. If I lift my foot off the throttle, I get 0.3 of a G of deceleration. That is more than adequate to never have to touch the brakes during normal driving. I really like that. But there are 2 other one pedal drive options. There's low, so I'll switch to that now. By the way, that's something I really enjoy, that it's super easy to do with a touch of a screen. Anyway, one pedal drive set to low, lift off the throttle, and that feels like less than 1/10 of a G of decel. That's definitely more than coasting, but it is not good enough for one pedal driving. And I would be irritated by that if that were the max it could do. But you can also turn it off entirely, lift off the accelerator, and yeah, just like coasting. Whether you're in the standard driving mode or not, the maximum that the system can regenerate in terms of recharging the battery just by lifting off the accelerator is 100 kilowatts. You're talking about better than 1/3 of the peak power it can produce. That's pretty good. Energy recovery is a solid number in the Polestar 2. And one thing I love about electric motors is the instant response. So, floor the accelerator, and I get something right away. And unlike the last single motor Polestar 2, that's real grunt you feel here. That extra 118 pound-feet of torque is instantly recognizable because you get that surge back into the back of the seat. It's immediate and I love it. Anyway, the responsiveness of electric motors is brilliant. You do not have to wait for the transmission to kick down gears. You don't have to wait for the air to get the combustion chambers or the injectors to do their work. Everything just happens right away. Electricity moves so fast, and this is a really nice way to take advantage of that. You want to move? You move, and there's no delay. Now, there's no real driving modes per se. You can dial back the stability control with the sport mode to allow some tire spin, and I have played with that a little bit, and you can get a little bit of rotation out of the car when you do that at low speed corners, and I appreciate that. But part of that, in fact, I suspect most of that is due to the fact that this particular Polestar 2 is wearing winter tires. And that changes the dynamic behavior of this car, so I'm not sure if that's how it would feel on normal rubber. Anyway, Not only is this powertrain really responsive and a lot more gutsy than it used to be, it's also very, very efficient. You get 124 miles to the gallon equivalent in the city, 106 miles to the gallon equivalent on the highway, 115 combined. Those are very, very strong numbers. The only car that I remember that does better than that is the Hyundai Ioniq 6. That thing is shockingly efficient. But Polestar, this is getting better and better. Those are impressive numbers. Polestar also says that this thing can tow. Now, I'm sure range will drop if you do a lot of towing, but the car itself is able to tow 2,000 pounds. And that's across the lineup, whether you get a dual motor or a single motor, performance pack or not, whatever. 2,000 pounds. That's not a lot, but that is a jet ski, a couple of motocross bikes, a snowmobile. It's more than nothing. All right, so I spent the last several minutes raving about this new single motor powertrain. Fine, but how does it actually accelerate? Let's find out. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test in this updated, more powerful single motor Polestar 2. I do have the steering in firm, just because that's how I like it, and I have the stability control in sport mode officially. Let's see how it goes. Okay, coming to a complete stop. Hard on the accelerator. Oh, what is that? Is that tire spin? Wow, not bad. This is healthy. Wow, that is a huge difference between this and the last single motor Polestar 2 I've driven. We had good grunt right from the beginning. It was a little bit of a soft launch, but you felt that low end torque kick in right away. We had good pull throughout, nice, firm, solid acceleration. Polestar says that the 2 can now accelerate from 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds instead of 7 like the first one, and oh man, do I believe it. All right, let's dig into the chassis. We do still have the same basic Polestar 2 here, and that means we do have struts up front and a multi-link suspension in back, and that's a perfectly reasonable, extremely common suspension geometry to deal with. And the ride and handling compromise in the standard Polestar 2 is totally fine. It definitely leans towards ride. It's not some super firm body. You do get some roll into the corners and that kind of thing, and you do have a lot of weight to work with, but generally, it's competent when it comes to handling. The chassis balance is pretty good. There's not a lot of understeer built into this thing, and you do get a nice ride as a result. It's also pretty quiet inside, and the seats are comfortable, and of course, all the switchgear and everything is easy to reach, easy to use. It's a little bit cramped in the second row, especially if you have adults back there, but on shorter trips, I think they would be okay. And all of that is true on roads like this and on the interstate. I did test it there as well. Let me show you that. All right, everybody, time for a quick stint on the interstate, see how the Polestar feels on the open road. But first, I wanted to quickly show you all the different assist systems we have because we have the pilot package. What I really like about this is that it's really easy to adjust. Again, so you just go to assist and you can individually turn on and off everything really easily, and I like that. First of all, you can choose between regular and adaptive cruise control just with a push of a button. We are going to do adaptive cruise control to see how well it works. But lane keeping on, off, driver alert, roadside information, all that kind of stuff. One other thing, cruise control, you turn on with this button here, slow down this way, speed up that way. But if you want to turn on the pilot assist, which more actively does lane keeping, that kind of thing, you actually hit this arrow here, and you can see this little indicator right here. That changes. All right, everybody, time for a quick stint on the interstate. And since I have the on-ramp to myself, quick handling test. I do have the winter tires, so yeah, I don't have a lot of grip, and it's all kind of soft and spongy. It's because of the tires. I'm gonna want to do a handling test on this single motor Polestar 2. There's a lot of promise here, but it's got to be on the right tire. Okay, we are now up to speed. Cruise control is set at 80 miles an hour to go with traffic. I do have adaptive cruise control on, and I do have the pilot assist on, so we'll see how that stuff works. I mean, you saw I have everything on, and we are coming up on a subtle curve now, so I'm going to take my hands off the wheel. And yep, the steering wheel is definitely being active. We're also being slowed down because we're behind a semi-truck. But yeah, it's doing a pretty good job to keep us centered in the lane. I'm happy with that. It's not as good as the best stuff I've seen, but it's pretty close. Now I'm getting the warning to please put my hands back on the wheel. But yeah, that's pretty good. That's actually better than I expected, to be totally honest, because I haven't seen Polestar be as robust with these types of systems as other manufacturers. Okay, now we're going at cruising speed, and at that speed, you know, it's pretty quiet in here. You can hear some wind noise. There is some buffeting around the side view mirrors and things like that you can hear, but it's not loud, it's just there. I would say it's competitive, but certainly not class leading. Generally, it is still very comfortable in here. I think the seats are comfortable. I really do like the center console display's layout and how easy it is to adjust everything. I mean, I can adjust things on the fly as we're moving. I really like that. And I didn't mention it before, but I do also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it is wired. And also, the ride is the tiniest bit on the stiff side. It feels perfectly fine unless you're going over expansion joints and you get that quick hop. That's where the weight of having this 82 kilowatt hour battery pack comes into play a little bit. But it's generally comfortable, and with the added range, I actually think this would be a great road trip car, for shorter road trips at least. All right, what do I think of this updated 2024 Polestar 2 single motor? I'm really smitten with this thing. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. The updates here are impressive. The fact that we gained that much horsepower and torque and they just swapped which wheels are driven is beautiful. I absolutely love that. This car is so much more fun to drive than the last single motor Polestar 2. And it's not just some enthusiast benefit here. It is more efficient. It gets a bigger battery and it uses that battery more efficiently. 320 miles of range according to the EPA. Numbers like that are going to start truly backing off on range anxiety and those kinds of issues. And the faster charging really helps as well. You know, pretty darn good numbers for a 400 volt system. Eventually, Polestar is going to have to go to 800 volts to, keep up with the Joneses, as it were. But considering that they're still running on 400 volts, I'm impressed with what they've managed to get out of this. Now, for the pure driving enthusiast, no, the Polestar 2 does not drive as well as the best that's out there. You know, steering feel is only so-so, and, it's still a lot of weight that you're throwing around. But in terms of EVs, the size of this car, now the drivetrain configuration of this car, and the amount of power from this car, we're making some big steps forward. So if you're the kind of person that already likes Volvos, and as a corollary Polestar, Volvo owns Polestar after all, I think you'll love this new updated Polestar 2 single motor. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like this video, please show me by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, I do reviews like this all the time. Also, car news and auto shows and engineer interviews and things like that. So if you have any interest in keeping up with the auto industry in general, please subscribe to my channel. That also helps me out a lot, and I'd also really appreciate that. And if you're interested in EVs, another one to check out is the Genesis GV60. Now that's an SUV, not a hatchback, but it has a lot of strengths and a lot of speed too. Or maybe you're interested in something else entirely. Well, like I said, I have reviewed a lot of stuff by now. Something will pop up on the screen next to me. Hopefully that is something you're interested in. And if you do end up watching it, I hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.